Okay, kiddos, here is an example of how to graph a polynomial using points and end behavior. So we're to the point where we're learning a little bit about the end behavior of polynomials, but when we get to something like this and we're asked to graph it, that might be a little challenging. So first of all, let's talk about the end behavior. We know that the degree, so it's not from the first term, it's from the term with the largest exponent, and so that is this. So the degree is 3, which is an odd number, and the leading coefficient, the number in front of that, is a -1. Okay, so we know that, which would tell us that the end behavior, or degree, is 3, which is an odd number. Our leading coefficient is -1, which is a negative number. So we could express the end behavior like this. We know it's going to go in that direction, meaning up and left. And we know it's going to go in this direction, meaning right and down. We could also use that infinity notation and say that f of x, let me get a wider pen there. All right, we could also say that f of x goes to positive infinity as x goes to negative infinity. That is this, left and up. We could also say that f of x goes to negative infinity, meaning down, as x goes to positive infinity, meaning to the right. Okay, so this is the same thing as this, and this is the same thing as this. Now, how do we plot the points? So you're given this xy table without the y values filled in. You just have this. Notice how they're centered around 0. So we're going to use the equation, and I know that this looks like a lot of work, but I just did it. It really wasn't that bad. And I'll show you a trick. So we're taking the x value, for example, -2, and we're plugging it in for x to figure out what y is. And in math speak, we could say f of -2 equals blah, 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 which equals -9, meaning when x equals 2, y equals -9. And again, we got that by plugging in -2 to the value of x. So I've done that for -2 and -1 and 0 and 1 and 2, and I wrote it all out. You wouldn't even have to write all that out, right? You could plug that in. And the trick is, if you're using Desmos, so in Desmos, I started typing in the equation. Notice how I didn't type in the f of x, okay? This is like 4x minus 9 minus x cubed. But instead of using the x, I used some other variable. And as soon as I started typing in that other variable, Desmos said, "Do you want a slider?" And I said, "Yeah." And so what this will show up down below, and all you need to do is slide this back and forth. So I typed in that equation, and then I slid this over to -2, and it showed me what that is when a is -2. And then I slid it to -1, and then it showed me what it was, and then I slid it to 0 and 1. Whoops, that would be over here. And then 0 and 1 and 2. So I didn't have to retype that equation every time. Oh yeah, slider, Desmos. So, but these you could probably do in your head as well. So once we have this, we have our points, and we're going to plot those points. So I created a little graph where I knew that the values I wanted were x should go from -2 to 2, and y should go, and it's just kind of between -12 and -6. So I set the xy axes up like this. So it's centered here, yet I knew there wasn't going to be anything up here, so most of the y-axis is down below, and I went just in threes, -3, -6, -9, -12. Okay, so the points end up being here. That's our 2, -9, and then 1, -12, etc., etc., etc. Notice how that's kind of looking like this cubic function where it's going to be like that. Right? Notice how our end behavior is going up and left and down and right, and we could fit that through these points like that. So that's what we're going to do, is we're putting together the pieces of this puzzle. We don't really know what goes on in the middle of the graph, so we plotted some points, but the end behavior we know, up and left, through the points, and then, whoops, pardon me, up and left, through the points. Ah, beautiful. Down and right. Okay, that looks great. So, pat yourself on the back. I want you to have completed these notes and then submit them to Google Classroom to let me know that you have. Thanks.